Thank you for visiting my channel, and I am going to kind of go do a voiceover, show you what I am doing through this process and guide you on the materials that I've used in case you guys would like to repeat this project as well. Right now I am taking apart the lilacs. I'm trying to get the little buds off so I could put them inside the little circles to try and create like a dimension within the butterfly. Through this you'll see me just kind of place them the way I feel like they should be in there, and after I get all that filled in, then I will fill it up with UV resin and to hold them in place. That's kind of my goal. I really wanted to try and create a raindrop effect behind these lilacs, but that didn't work out so well, as you see as I go along. I probably should have used a different color maybe, and then used black UV resin on all the areas, because you could definitely see the difference as I go. But in truth, I think if I was to do this again, I would probably use just a solid color mica that's very vibrant behind there, because I think that would create more of a dimension than doing what I had attempted to do with the raindrop effect. So that would be interesting to play with in the future. Anyway, right now I'm just putting in those little lavender seeds and getting them set the way I liked, and you just enjoy the process, and I'll come back as it gets closer for me to give you some more information. Okay, here is where I tried to use the chameleon powders to create the raindrop effect. I didn't think though that it would probably make a huge difference if it's in a bigger space so you see more of the raindrop effect. Um, I probably would have gone with a gold or something. So just think of that in the future if you do attempt to try this, that you're probably not going to get that raindrop effect on this. Okay, while I was doing this, I decided to add some other powders, try and create a little bit more of a dimension. While adding those powders, I spread out what colors I thought I wanted on there. I end up having to do quite a bit of cleanup as I go. You'll see that throughout, but my goal wasn't necessarily to keep everything in line. I wanted some bleed through, hoping to create more like a fur effect, I guess. You know, butterflies' bodies aren't always super smooth. They do have little tiny hairs on them, so that's kind of what I was going for. As I was doing it, like I said, I realized I kind of overdid it in some areas, so you'll see me paint, go back, clean up, paint some more, and that sort of process. Okay, so through this process, I wanted to try the resin-crete for the body. Again, I was hoping to kind of create a texture. I ended up having to make some adjustments anyway in the end, but you'll see me mixing up the resin-crete and adding color, and then I'll use that for the butterfly body and then I use resin after it settles to for the wings on the butterfly. So it's at this stage that me and my brain just apparently wasn't working. I thought for some reason that the color I used for epoxy would also work for resin-crete, and it really just doesn't. The color for epoxy does not mix well with water, so it ended up being very gloopy and ugly looking, and I just could not get that color to mix in. So as you can see, that's a hot mess there. So I went ahead and got some red dye and decided to use the RIT dye because I was thinking it is a water-based ink and it would create that darker look for that resin-crete, because anyone who's used resin-crete has definitely seen where your colors become muted. So my attempt was to go with a black. I probably should have used a little bit more dye, especially since I allowed myself to have enough weight space to do it, but I didn't. I just kept it fairly light. But I do have to say I love resin-crete. There are tricks with resin-crete that you learn as you work with it, but I love the biggest thing. One is don't demold it in their half-hour time that they tell you that you can. If you have a lot of texture or grooves, you could see that in the main picture of this thumbnail there is a jar, and that the jar top was made with the leftover resin-crete from this project. So it definitely does have strength, but you have to allow it to cure really well before you attempt to demold it. But again, if you have you're working with projects with the little fingers and toes, or it's just best to have that extra structural support. So backing resin-crete with epoxy is always smart. But I do like resin-crete a lot. I love the look of it. I love the feel of it. It's definitely not like your other mixes that you use. I want to say it's clay, but it's not. It's a oh well, who knows. This brain is kind of put a blank on it, but either way, it's not the same. It definitely has its benefits. Here I used one of the pipettes to load the resin-crete into the antennas and into the body of the butterfly. I wanted to make sure I didn't just try to pour it in, because I really wanted to control where that was going, and this was the best control that I can do. I do love pipettes and I use them a lot, especially for finer details. So they're definitely worth investing in. They're pretty cheap on Amazon and they last a long time. I use mine over and over until really I just can't use them anymore, but they're great. I know if you use them for resin, you could tip them upside down and let the resin go into the back end of it and dry up. And then you just know it's there and use it again until it's just no longer usable. Alright, so I gave this about a half hour time to dry, and I'm now ready to work on the epoxy. Like I said, when I was talking about the layers of the butterfly, I really was going for multi-dimensional. So I started with clear epoxy on this and poured that. But with this in mind now, another one of my mistakes was I thought, okay, I'm going to put the chameleon powder on the back and back it up with black to create that chameleon effect. I knew that I should have cured between each drop, but I did not, and that in itself was a huge problem. I couldn't clean it up. I kept trying, and so finally I just gave in and figured it is what it is. So I did use the black light to cure it, and as I was afraid, it did seep a little up underneath there, but that's all right. You know, we if we didn't make mistakes, it wouldn't be our own creations. So here I'm mixing it up with my mixer. My hands get really sore when you use so much epoxy. Honestly, I love these things. I mean, you're going to get micro bubbles. So if you're really into not wanting those micro bubbles, you have to be better at being slower than that. But to me, with this particular project, it didn't matter because I used plenty of alcohol to remove the micro bubbles, and you know, it was going to cure just fine. I just wanted to go in and say that somehow I lost the footage of where I added the black epoxy on after this clear layer. So unfortunately that isn't available, so you'll see it jump to a black backing butterfly, but I did add that black epoxy after the clear had dried up. And here it is. It looks pretty good from what I can see on this end. I do see that the back, of course, we need to coat that up, and that's fine. But I just wanted to get it out of the mold so I could see what I need to do. And quite honestly, my curiosity was killing me because I had so many errors going on this, and I wanted to see how everything pushed to the front. So as I was demolding it, I was trying to be very careful of the butterfly. I just didn't want it to hurt any. As you can see when I look at this, look at the body. I was so disappointed. The epoxy had went up underneath the resin-crete. Had it just stayed with the resin-crete, it would have been absolutely beautiful. So with that, and I'm looking at all the chameleon missing, and it just did not quite give me the full effects of what I wanted with this butterfly. So my way of fixing it, I believe everything is fixable, and so I will add embellishments, and you'll see that as I go along. But I'm definitely surveying my work and seeing what I need to do. I used, I think it was Deco markers. They're called, let me look here, actually. I got them at Hobby Lobby. I guess they call them painters, I think. But I use that to color it up some and then kind of bring it down, and you'll see me playing with that. But after that, then I have fun and start adding special embellishments. Sometimes when you have mistakes, it's part of the butterfly, which is good, but then at the same time it gives you an opportunity to explore your other parts of creativity, and that's when you get your very unique projects. And so, I mean, this will be a one-of-a-kind butterfly, and that's okay. It was something I was playing with, and I'm good with that. So I am prepping this. I was trying to add some dots onto there, and I thought, well, a curl marker might do it. And then the more I did it, the less I liked it. So then my next step was to go to UV. And so I created UV bubbles and put little gold beads on there, and that created a nice texture. It drew the eye away from the mistakes, but made it look unique in its own way. Here you'll see me add little rhinestones to it and put them in the eyes and the antennas. Anywhere I thought I could decorate it up and look good, I was all for it. It's just a fun little project, and that's what crafting is supposed to be. So as you can see, I've finished the front, so I'm like, okay, now I'm going to go ahead and add to the back. And that's just to give it a finished look is all. I mean, it'll have a hanger going on in the back, a hook, so people can hang it up on the wall. They're not going to see the back, but a lot of people do pick that up. And here is my finished project. And as you can see with that jar there, it was made with the leftover resin-crete. I added glitter to it. I added all the embellishments. So it was just meant to draw in and see, you know, when you have leftover products, you never know what you get. But I do love the way all of this turned out, and I hope you enjoy and have fun playing with resin.